everyone. If you're in this area, you're getting this through a live screen in our area of the SBC Women's Expo. I'm super excited about this guest of mine. We met just really a few weeks ago in another event, and it's been a prayer answered for me. I'm super excited to have Lynda Castro, who is with Operation Christmas Child, and she's going to tell you a little more about what she does there and about what we, as a lot of us already know about, packing that shoebox for Operation Christmas Child. So tell us a little bit about what your role is there, Lynda, and then give us some history of Operation Christmas Child. That would be a good start for us.
Sure, absolutely. So I work in national church partnerships, focus on denominational partnerships, and also events such as this one. That's not necessarily a denomination, but the target audience is pastors and church leadership. And so what I do is I'm just building these partnership relationships to cast the vision of what we do as Operation Christmas Child. So that's my role. I travel all over the United States. It's domestically. And we set up a booth. We try to get stage time. Again, anything we can do to convey the message. As far as the history of Operation Christmas Child. So it began in 1993. There was a gentleman from England who called Franklin Graham. He said, could you help me pack shoebox gifts for children in Eastern Europe? And Franklin at the time said, yes, that sounds like a great thing to do. This was in the summer, and so he would admit that he kind of put it on the back burner because he thought it's for Christmas, we have plenty of time, until Thanksgiving. And he got a follow-up call from this gentleman, and he thought, oh no, I have not packed or done anything to put together these shoe boxes for this ministry. And so he reached out to a pastor friend at Calvary Baptist Church in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
And within just a matter of weeks, that church had packed 11,000 shoe boxes that were lining the walls of their entire church. Samaritan's Purse also organizationally contributed, and also some churches in Canada. So that Christmas, we sent 28,000 shoebox gifts to Eastern Europe for children. From there, we shipped over 11 million shoe boxes alone last year, and since its inception in 1993, we have shipped over 220 million shoebox gifts to children in over 170 countries and territories.
I am speechless to that because as one that got to go on a vision trip on Billy Graham's plane, Samaritan's Purse plane, to Lima, Peru several years ago, I understand the significance of those numbers because it's not just a shoebox, right?
Exactly.
It is not just giving a child a shoebox. And a lot of times we pack these at Christmas time, but they get delivered in the spring.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? So
Logistically, there it is obviously Operation Christmas Child, but we're talking about domestic shipment to the coast and then containers going throughout the world, landing on and then transporting internal to that country. So all throughout January, February, March, these shoebox gifts are being delivered.
And it's incredible to be a part of that because as you're unloading all of those boxes, and each spot that you go to, there are children waiting. Exactly. And they hear the gospel.
Exactly.
They hear the gospel, right?
Exactly.
And then they're given a shoebox.
Right.
So how many millions ago again?
So last year alone, it was 11.3 million. Our goal was 11 million, and we surpassed that. Our goal for this year is 12 million. But since its inception, 220 million shoebox gifts.
So how many people have received Christ through that? How many kids? Do you know?
Yeah, so we base our numbers on, and we say numbers don't matter, but they do matter because we want to know, like,
it's a soul,
are
right?
we stewarding well, like what we say we're doing?
Yes.
And those who support the ministry, whether it's packing a shoebox gift or donating to the ministry, they want to know if what they're doing is effective.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, over 20 million children have made decisions for Christ, and that is based off of after they've gone through the 12-week discipleship program called The Greatest Journey, and then they really understand God is their creator, the problem of sin, and who Jesus Christ is and what he did for them, and how they can be a friend of Jesus forever. And so that's the number off of that.
Wow.
Greatest Journey.
That's just of the Greatest Journey. That's the discipleship tool, right?
Exactly. So we talk about our ministry having 3 tiers: evangelism, which is a shoebox gift, that gospel presentation; the discipleship component, which is the Greatest Journey, the 12-week lessons; and then multiplication. We estimate that 6 people hear the gospel as a result of one shoebox gift, because families are invited to the graduation ceremony. They hear the gospel. We've seen churches planted as a result of this, and so the multiplication. In fact, children are asked at the very last week of the Greatest Journey, write down the names of 9 friends or family that you know who you're going to commit to pray for and who you're going to share this message with. And so these little disciples are being disciple makers.
Children will lead them.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
What an incredible vision and story, and just success as far as the gospel being shared around the world.
Exactly.
And we get, sometimes our American church, we get really comfortable in our way of doing things, and this pushes us out of our box, if you want to use that, to understand that it's not just we can all do this.
Right.
We can all do this. So really and truly, how do we know, and how do we use this for women to navigate their giftedness within the church walls of doing this very thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you think about women, so women are leaders,
Yes.
women are organizers, women are relational, and women love to shop. And so all of those components are their giftings, the way God has created many women to, first of all, many of our women are project leaders. A project leader simply means that you are the one leading the charge within your church, and we encourage every church to have a project leader.
Yes.
When I speak to pastors, I don't expect that pastor to do one more thing, but I say find that person within your church.
Find that woman.
And it's typically going to be a woman that will lead the project, okay? So a woman is using her giftedness. Relationally, we talk about this being multi-generational.
Yes.
So from the little children who can pack a shoebox to the senior adult and everyone in between. So she's connecting people relationally through generations. And
relationally, it builds team within the church, right? And community with friendships with them. I think, I don't know if I shared this with you, and I know I've shared already with another podcast, but the 9 generations that are potentially within the church today, you're connecting all of them with this ministry.
All of them. And sometimes it does start with a children's pastor. Sometimes it's a senior adult. So with women using their giftedness, I also think it empowers women, and not in a, liberal sense, but just to know that they're partnering and they're having an impact globally, partnering with the global church to have such an impact just by what they're doing within their own church.
Yes.
And that's a powerful...
It is very powerful. It's empowering us as women and as a church to understand that it could be that we get to heaven one day and we're standing next to someone that a shoebox that we packed influenced them and connected them to the gospel of Jesus Christ, and we're in heaven together with those people.
Amen.
Because of that.
Exactly.
That's mind-blowing to me.
Right.
But it also helps me understand that it takes one step of obedience to do that.
Exactly.
To pack a shoebox that most of us spend more on a drive-through at Chick-fil-A
No, absolutely.
than we would to pack that shoebox.
And I tell people in churches, the response may be, well, we're helping our community. I'm like, good, you should be. Go to the neighborhoods, but also go to the nations. I also share that this is such an easy on-ramp for global missions. Like, we have the infrastructure, we have the leadership team.
Right.
All you have to do is pack a shoebox, and that one, no shoebox goes to waste,
Right.
And God
Not
sees
one.
that child when you pack that shoebox, and we say the most important ingredient is to pray over that box. there are some amazing stories about how that child was praying for something specifically that was in that shoebox.
Yes,
and so
yes.
the God who knows the beginning from the end and is using that person is like, okay, I need to go shopping at Walmart today. I'm going to pack my shoebox, and praying over that even as you're walking through the aisle. Like, Lord, what does this little girl want or need? You know, just help me.
So awesome.
And then it ends up in the hands of that child is just amazing.
What's really cool is that one of my stories is I got to go on that Lehman trip, and I've got several great stories, but one of the other stories that I had is this little church somewhere in the U.S. put their business card and signed it, like several people signed it, and said, if you get this is our phone number. We would love to have like a picture. If someone was, let us know who got this.
Right.
So I got to stay with this little person who got this shoebox, and he and I did a selfie, and I got to contact this church and say, this is where this is it.
Right.
This is where your shoebox ended. This is who got your shoebox, and he accepted Jesus today.
Oh,
that
praise
just
God.
Lit them, and so much encouragement for them.
Right.
And I think they packed like several thousand boxes in this little church, less than 100.
Right.
And they're just they were like, that lit them up, you know, to know that we had a part in someone receiving Christ as their Savior because of our shoebox.
And think of it, getting back to women or anybody really, but you may never leave the United States. You know, but look at where you're going.
Yes.
Through Operation Christmas Child. Look at the global impact that you're having.
Yes. What a great statement right there. And we're going to ask you one final question. It's a personal question, and you and I have just met each other. You've told me a little bit of your story. I admire you already, and I just think that you have been a very strong woman to carry through your story. What a blessing you are. To now, the Lord has freed you to do all that you're doing, which is absolutely incredible. From a caregiver to a woman who is sharing the love of Jesus by helping other people connect to share the love of Jesus across the globe, literally. What an incredible story. But here's the personal question. How has the gospel and serving in ministry as a woman impacted you?
Yeah, so I would say that the Lord, again, He has our future in His hand. And so there are three things that drew me to Samaritan's Purse, three components that have always been woven into the fabric of my life. It's international. And when I was 16 years old, I went to live in Bogota, Colombia for a year. And so I saw things I never would have seen in Dayton, Ohio. Children on the street begging, washing windows, handicapped people, disabled people on the sidewalks, the poverty and the extreme conditions. And so that just opened my heart to the world that was much larger than what I had experienced. So international. The second thing is children. I've always loved children. I've been part of inner city ministry for kids, Hispanic ministry, vacation Bible school, on staff at a church and children's ministry. And then I have two of my own children who are young adults now, but I've loved everything about being their mom, every stage, and they're the loves of my life. And so, other than Jesus, but you understand what I'm talking about.
I do understand.
As a mom.
Absolutely.
So children are precious, and Jesus speaks of the children. And then the third component is the gospel. I mean, I feel like if we do something and meet a need, but it's absent of the gospel that will really have an impact eternally, then it also will just burn up.
Right.
And so the fact that those three components have been woven throughout my life, and that as I was in a very dark season, and I don't know if you want me to go into that, but the Lord just opened up this door with Samaritan's Purse. So just a little bit of my personal story. 10 years into my marriage, I was expecting our daughter, and my husband at age 32 was diagnosed with ALS. And so the doctors gave him 3 to 5 years to live, and we really leaned into Jesus, I'll just say that. And the Lord gave us 18 years with my husband. But you can imagine what my life looked like as a primary caregiver. He went from a cane to a wheelchair to, not being able to feed himself, all of those things.
And you were the one to do that.
And I was the one to do that, raising 2 children. I homeschooled them. I worked part-time. I served at my church. And my life was very busy. I had many plates spinning, but the Lord, through and through, was the strength. I mean, he sustained me, he sustained our family, and for all intents and purposes, I would say we were a pretty normal family. I mean, it looked different, but we were pretty quote-unquote normal.
Yes.
And in October of 2020, my husband passed away. He's now with Jesus. There's no more suffering, no more pain. My 2 adult children were both in college, so I found myself an empty nester, a relatively young widow.
Yeah.
My job had suffered because of COVID, and I was stuck. I mean, I was deeply stuck, deeply grieving because I married a wonderful man, but deeply grieving because of the length of what we'd gone through and the depth of that. And I didn't know what to do with my life.
Yes.
I was able to spend time with the Lord every morning, and I would cry, and I would listen to worship music, and I would read my Bible, and then I would kind of get up and get on. And I was functioning. I wouldn't say I was in a deep depression, but I was just stuck. And so the Lord just prompted me. I'm like, I need a job. And the Lord prompted me to look at Samaritan's Purse. I applied. It was a seasonal position at a processing center in Atlanta, Georgia. I packed up my car. I moved to Atlanta for a month. And as God would have it, there were a lot of people, because again, it was post-COVID, who were from international headquarters at the processing center. And my prayer was, Lord, I'm going to be a floor manager. Part of my job is overseeing team coaches. That's all processing center language, but I said, Lord, just help me to make connections quickly, because I only have 4 weeks here and I want to serve people well. If this turns into something great, if not, it'll look great on a resume.
Yeah,
I had no expectations of the Lord. And so from that, I was presented with an opportunity. Hey, we want you to apply for this position. This was December. I moved back home to Dayton, Ohio for Christmas. They encouraged me, continued to encourage me to apply. I applied, and then by February, they were flying me to Boone for in-person interviews and made an offer. And so that sacrifice, personal sacrifice, was leaving Dayton, Ohio, my children, and relocating to Boone, North Carolina. But I knew that God's hand was in it, and he had just opened up doors. Even travel, Diane. I travel all over the country, but it was a very difficult thing to be able to travel with a husband that was disabled.
Yes.
Like, there was a lot of planning that had to go into that.
Yes.
Even if he stayed home, I had to cover all the bases to get him covered. And the fact that I get to travel now and meet some incredible people and share the vision of such a ministry that impacts children globally, that's no one but God.
No one but the Lord can
I am
do that.
humbled and just thrilled.
And so grateful. And I'm so grateful that you were the answer to my prayer, that the connection where I'm thinking I'm going to go teach. And I did teach, and I did have my own exhibit, but then I met you. And it's been my heart to have Operation Christmas Child as part of our ministry forever, and I'm excited for the next several months of what God might do with us, and as we partner together, and as you are a sponsor for us, and as we get to share what Jesus is doing through Operation Christmas Child with all the places that God will take me, but especially through the women's ministry, or the refresh retreats that we do for ministry wives, where we just continue to filter out and we continue to hear stories and of what God does through the collection points in those places for collection week. So.
Couldn't agree anymore, Diane. And just our relationship professionally or ministry wise, but then the friendship that we've formed.
It's an iron sharpens iron, just encouraging one another as a small nonprofit to the larger nonprofit, of understanding what it takes for all of us to share the good news of the gospel, because there's millions of people that need to know Jesus, right?
Absolutely.
Children and their families. Absolutely. This is a door open. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for being here on this short notice. This was a God thing that he worked this out.
I agree.
And we are so glad that you have joined us as the Women's Expo and Operation Christmas Child and ContagiousJoyForHim.com. We love you guys. We will see you with one more recording or podcast a little bit after lunch. As for now, we hope that you enjoy the videos and the B-roll that we have for you on our screens, and we just are getting more and more women. I just had I just had a little eagle guy come up, somebody dressed like an eagle, a mascot, up into our area. That'll be interesting to see what that's all about. But we're glad that you were here with us today and that you will continue to get connected in this area with all the great ministries that are in this area with us today. We love you, we're praying for you, and we're cheering you on as ministry wife. Until next time, I'm Diane Nix.